rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Rachel.
Chapman?
Present.
Clark?
Present.
Douglas?
Here.
Chapman is absent. Tyler?
Here.
Zelnat?
Here.
Becker?
Here. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Need a motion to approve the minutes of September 13th, 2017 regular board meeting.
I move motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. That brings us to Mr. Elsenheimer, who would like to talk to us.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Elsenheimer. I'm the, well geez, y'all might remember the name from years and years ago. I was just thinking to myself, it's been at least 10 years since I bet it's been more like 15 years since I've been here.
I had lunch with you once, I remember
I
that.
remember that too.
Oh, do you?
So I'm the 13th Circuit Court Judge, along with Tom Power here, for Grand Traverse, Antrim, and Leelanau counties. I was appointed by Governor Snyder to that position in January. And prior to that, some of you may remember, I was once your attorney many, many years ago. But I've also served in the legislature for this area, was director of NISHDA, and director of the Workers' Compensation Agency in the Snyder administration. But again, I was appointed to the bench 10 months ago. What I've just given you is the report that, even though it's for 2016, was just recently released. It takes that long for us to get the information from the state in order to put it in a form that you can look at. You don't need to go through it right now, but there are two things I want to tell you about since I've got a short amount of time. The first is the overall trend in crime and trend in cases, civil divorces, etc. Because remember, the circuit court handles family issues, so it handles divorce issues, it handles any civil matter over $25,000, and it handles serious criminal matters that involve more than a year in prison potentially or jail. Those kinds of cases have actually gone down over 2016, which was a welcome trend because they had been going up. Unfortunately, it looks like we bottomed out. We're starting to see those numbers go back up. So as you're living your daily life and reading the newspaper and seeing what's going on in your community, and if you start to see more activity in the court system, what you're experiencing is real. It looks like we've hit bottom and we're starting to trend back up. We think that the decline was probably due to the economy being pretty good and the fact that people could find jobs just about everywhere. And if you have a job, the odds are pretty good you're not going to be committing crimes. You're not going to be involved in things that could get you before Judge Power or myself. So I don't know if that means that the economy is heading in the wrong direction. Smarter people than me will have to figure that out. But the bottom line is we've enjoyed a low crime period, not just here, but also statewide. The second thing that I want to tell you about that has jumped out at me since I was a prosecutor many years ago here in this county is for years and years and years, our #1 crime in the circuit court was third offense drunk driving. That was subjected to 5 years in prison. It's a relatively common crime. There's still far too many people doing it. Numbers have kind of leveled off, but it's certainly the most numbered crime. The most number of people commit that one of all the crimes that we deal with. That is no longer the case here in the 13th Circuit Court. Can anybody guess what's #1 now? What is now taken over as the most popular quote-unquote?
License.
Absolutely right, opioids. So it is delivery or manufacture of some controlled substance, be that methamphetamine, be that opioids, be that heroin. That's our #1 crime now. And that is, I think, for policymakers like you, something that you need to keep in the back of your mind, because it's affecting every part of our society, every social strata, top to bottom. I talk about, whenever I talk to groups, the fact that our jails now are becoming de facto treatment centers, because that's where people are drying out. Not only do they have to deal with mental health issues, you can ask Dan Bean if he shows up here. They've also got to deal with the issues that come along with people who are addicted. And it's a large number of people. I have criminal court on Friday. 3/4, if not more, of the people I'm going to be dealing with will have some kind of opiate addiction. It is all throughout this area. And actually, Central Lake area is a pretty strong vector for opiate and methamphetamine issues. So these are things that you all need to know as you go about your business of trying to take care of this community. Certainly we're dealing with it from a larger perspective of all 3 counties, but we're all going to have to get control of this if we're going to manage this problem and manage it back to where it needs to be. It is very different than it was all those years ago when I was a prosecutor, very different than it was even when I was serving in the legislature. This is a real and current problem that we've got to find a way to manage more effectively. That's my quick report for you. I could go into a lot of detail, but I'd put you to sleep. You're welcome to use that in place of a late night cocktail if you want in order to get some sleep tonight. Are there any questions that I can answer about the operation of the court or anything else you'd like to know?
I have just a quick question on the
Sure.
opioid. Did you say that it's still climbing, plateauing?
I think it bottomed, and overall, we're starting to see the number of cases go up. One thing I can tell you, for example, is last year, meaning 2016, we had one of the lowest numbers of trials in the 13th Circuit Court that we've had in many years. This year, we're already well past that. This year, I've had a dozen trials myself, and I think there were maybe only a dozen last year total. So Judge Powers in a trial this week. We're very busy this year compared to last year. So we're starting to see the trend go back up in terms of overall numbers. I'd love to see it plateaued. It's actually bottomed and it's probably heading back up. Other questions?
When you say that Central Lake is the vector for meth and opioids.
A vector.
Vector, what's your basis? The number of court cases?
Yeah, the number of people that we see come through that have addresses
In
that are in this
comparison to
area.
the rest of the 3?
I wouldn't say in comparison to the rest. Every other county has its own areas too. But we see the same thing in other parts of this county too. You're not alone. And please don't take the wrong impression. It's everywhere. It's in Bel Air, it's certainly in Mansalona, it's in Ellsworth. We see a number of, let's say we see a number of cases from the central northern part of the county. But we also see a huge number of cases, the mass of the cases, certainly from Grand Traverse County. That's where the largest numbers are. That's where we think the drugs are probably coming in and being delivered from. So that's where, if I could stop one area and probably have the largest amount of effect on the entire region, it would be getting control of what's going on in Traverse City. But the key thing for all of you is that it is infecting every part of our society. People who you would never believe have issues with opiates have issues. I'll just leave you with one more thing. As I go to training and learn about this problem, I've been told by doctors who actually treat people and in some cases were addicts themselves at one point in their lives, that it turns out this is like a concussion. To have an opiate addiction is like a concussion. My son had a concussion playing basketball. He wasn't the same for a year. It took him a year to be normal. They say it takes 2 years to recover from an opiate addiction to the point where you're normal. So, something for us to be thinking about. On that note, I really don't want to depress you anymore. We're doing the best we can with it. We're all going to have to work and find ways to address these problems. You've got your own issues to work on too. If I can ever be of service somewhere out of the courtroom, please let me know. I'm glad to be as helpful as I can be. All right?
Thank you.
Nice to see y'all again. Really a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. How you doing?
Any other public comment? Carol?
Sorry, I got nothing.
Police report, Scott?
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at the report. Pretty busy month. I didn't put on your report, but I did make a little note, just in my office room as well. We are up 27% from last year complaint-wise. We are 8 complaints, currently today we're 8 complaints away from passing last year altogether, so we've been extremely busy.
Up 27% for the year or for the month?
For this time, the same time last year, so.
So January to September.
Yeah, we're up 80-some complaints more right now than we were even last year. We're 8 complaints away from even passing the total number from last year, so. A lot of training this last couple months, even though it's kind of a little bit slow for us, we're still keeping busy, so. Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
Hopefully everybody's got a copy of the DPW report. To start with, all the new fire hydrants that we put in on the water system have been tagged and numbered and put in the book, what they're connected to, what they come off from, what's the main feeder line to them, all that happy stuff.
Do you have MPDOs yet?
Not yet. Jennifer we're gonna get a new hydraulic analysis yet. We have a new one coming. Number 15, we really didn't get a whole lot of dirty water, and I don't think we had one complaint flushing about dirty water. I didn't get one. I don't believe Rachel got one either.
Too many new mains.
We had too much cutting off of the old ones and we flushed it out, I guess. And I also want to get permission from, is there any question on the DPW report?
Where's the swamp?
Behind the BP station.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You've been busy.
If there's no questions on the DPW report, I would like to get permission to buy a mouse tracker that you flush down wastewater, down toilets with an electronic wand where I can track that mouse when it goes into the septic tank. I don't have one. They're about $900 after you purchase all the accessories with it. And that would come out of basically repair and maintenance supplies for under sewer.
That's the way to get rid of mine.
What we had is, we had one septic tank that we actually got about, I hate to say this, about 10 hours in trying to find it before we finally found that bugger.
A real mouse?
Pardon?
A real mouse?
No, we just call them, we call them mouses is all we call them. They put off a FM frequency, and then you have a little toner in your hand and you tone it in, you go look for that frequency, it will come through up to 8 foot of ground. And then when you dig the door of the septic tank up to see if it needs to be pumped, you reach down, you pull it out of the septic tank, you turn him off, you clean him up, and then you can reuse him.
You put it back in his hamster cage?
Put it right back, yeah, right back in the hamster cage, let him spin the wheels.
Is it 900 including the accessories
That's
or 900
with-
plus?
The outfit that reads it is $643.
So you need a motion
And then the
for
mice
another-
are $27 a mouse, or they're $34 a piece. If you buy 10 or more, you can get them for the $27. And of course, I would buy 10 of them.
So it's a one-time use?
Oh, no. Some of them can go forever, you know, they got a 12 to 14 hour battery life in them. But some of them you're not gonna retrieve too, don't get me wrong.
So what fund did you say it would come from?
Wastewater, sewer.
Make a motion for.
I don't know if you have to, I guess I just kinda want, because I could go out and just purchase it. I just kinda wanted to let you guys know that it was something we would be looking at. And just wanna kinda get general consensus, would you be upset if I bought it?
Well, it should be cost effective if you weigh it against the amount of
10
hours
hours
that
spent.
they spend
Yeah, no kidding.
looking for these.
Yeah, you take 10 man hours to look for one septic tank before we finally found it.
Yeah,
One guy would have flushed this down 2 hours later, had it dug up and said, yep, and the good part about it is you can physically reach down in after you pull the door up, pull the mouse out, because he's sitting up on top of the waste. You just shut it off, wrap it up in towel, take it back, hose it off, you're all set.
Who gets to do that?
Who's ever in, Steve or Jeff?
Not you.
Sam's not going in no more. I did that. Any questions?
Steve or Jim.
think it's a good idea.
I don't think there's
Yeah,
any
go for
issues
it.
up here.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have anything else for Sam? Corey's not here, Lyle's not here, just for everybody's information. Lyle starts chemo, I think this next Monday is what he says. Supposedly it will be over and done with, and he's more than willing and able, he feels, to come back next year. And I said we would wait until he sees how he feels come this winter before we commit to him or he commits to us. So, just to let you know, he's feeling pretty good, but he's dragging too.
Sorry.
Just keep that in mind.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
He's had it once before, the chemo worked, and it's come back, and they think it'll work again. So that's what he told me today.
I knew he was having a problem, but
Okay, correspondence, there's several pieces here. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation is putting on a outreach event for the defense industry, those that would like contracts with the defense industry. It is tomorrow, October 12th, at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa in Acme. You have to register. If you are interested, let me know and I'll give you the flyer. We got a letter from a Craig and Sharon Goble from Bear Lake, Michigan. Just wanted to tell you how much we enjoyed our stay, October 2nd, 17, in the RV portion of your park. Lyle greeted us promptly and was very pleasant to work with. The grounds are well maintained and a great place to camp in our motorhome. This was after a call from California. This was after a summer of traveling to Colorado and staying in many campgrounds there and back again. Nice again to realize how many nice facilities we have right here in Michigan. Thanks for supporting the park. The Antrim County has a planning department, and they're in the throes of updating their master plan. You can access the master plan and provide comments up till sometime in December 2017. I have the web address that you can go to if you would like to read it and provide comments to them. There is a public meeting sometime in December where you'll have an opportunity for input at that as well. So, and I think the Chamber of Commerce has their annual 20th annual auction and dinner at the Blue Pelican on October 21st, 2017, starting at 5 o'clock. $25 per person, $45 for a couple. They would like to have you RSVP by October 16th if you plan to attend. And I think that was all I had. Committee reports. Lyle, streets.
I have nothing.
Leila, sewer and water.
Nothing added. Sam's done a pretty good job so far.
Chapman, law enforcement.
I don't have anything other than, the chief covered everything pretty well.
Melissa?
I have nothing except for we have our meeting scheduled for the 23rd at 1.
Okay. And Brian's not here. Rob, parks.
We got our tree grant approved from Consumer Powers, so we bought 6 trees. We have to turn back in a picture of the trees to get our money back from consumers, so that's good news. We planted 3 at the campground, 2 at the playground, on either side of the large play structure where the old maple tree was taken down, and then 1 at the north end across from Bedell Crossing where that one had died. So that's good news. The North Street Trail, we had the opening last Sunday. 20 people showed up. A lot of people walked the trail. It's getting quite a bit of use. Central Lake Public Schools, the kindergartner, first graders used it earlier this week. You can go to the website and see all the pictures of them. The high school fitness class is currently using it as part of their run and walk program. Cross country is using it as well. And obviously, there's a lot of people in town walking over there and using it. Let's see. We had a meeting with Ken Graham from the Pelican regarding wireless video cameras in and around the pavilion and around the new bathroom facilities. What we have is wireless video cameras, and they can the Wi-Fi from the campground. They can pick it up at the pavilion, so it's going to save us money there. I'm going to let Scott kind of go over it because he was at the meeting too, and he can tell you why he feels it's a good idea to have this system in place.
We've kind of always talked about having cameras down there to kind of keep an eye on things, obviously, when we're not there. A lot of times we have problems where it's the bathroom issues or even the campground area. Ken came down with just one single camera, and we kind of moved it around in various spots. Came out with a pretty good overview as far as getting different locations and views of the campground and stuff like that. The camera system he had only had like 4 camera heads. We did a little bit of research, well, actually Rob did. We can actually get a system that'll hold 6 cameras, and we can upgrade it to another 4, so that gives us a total of about 10 different cameras. We kind of played around with it. We came up with a kind of a tentative plan of how to put it throughout the campground, including by Lyle's Camper, the backside where the fish cleaning station is, and in various spots. So it pretty much covers, I think, all of our trouble areas that we have in the park. A couple of cameras will actually even catch the bridge and the new docks and stuff like that, so it goes way far over there. Rob did some more research, found out that we could actually buy a booster system to it to actually move our camera heads a little bit further out than what we kind of experimented with. Lyle had a question as far as could we move cameras somewhere down the road and look at the boat launch. Absolutely, especially with the booster system. So even though we have 10 camera heads, or the possibility of 10 camera heads, we can move those around in various spots. The only unknown we have right now is what the cost of electricity would be, because once we put the camera system in the bathhouse, basically the camera heads just need electric. We've got a bunch of spots around the pavilion. We chit-chatted with Sam a little bit, so it's possible, but just as far as the actual cost would be, we don't know that at this point. Another cool part about it is once the camera's up and running, it runs off our Wi-Fi system. So there's a question of how long do we keep our Wi-Fi system, because we usually shut it down during the winter time. So that might be an added expense that we don't know about at this point. If the system is up and running with the Wi-Fi, the cool part about it is I can pull it up on my phone and watch it live stream 24/7. Rachel could watch it from her desk, Sam could watch it from his desk, and Lyle could do the same thing, and we all could kind of keep an eye on it. If we have problems where we've had in the past where people have vandalized things, with the system that we were looking at the other day had a 1 terabyte, I think,
1 terabyte.
memory or whatever. The one that we were kind of looking at had a 2 terabyte, which actually would record 24/7, and when it gets to the point where it's full, it would start recording over itself. Ken estimates that it would be somewhere between 30 and 45 days before it would start overriding itself. By that time, we will know whether we have a problem or we need to look back at it. If we need to look back at it, I could sit right in my office, pull it up, look at it, view it, record it, document it, the whole 9 yards. It's a pretty slick system. And we can zoom in, and we can do a lot of cool things that we could actually use for, to find out who's causing the problems and stuff like that. So, really cool system. I think we kind of looked at anywhere, best case scenario, $600, worst case scenario, probably $1,500 or so. And again, there's a lot of unknowns that we don't know about as far as true costs. Could we do some of it ourselves? Could we find somebody to donate it? Could we, there's a lot of different possibilities.
Well,
But
they've really come down in cost.
what's that?
They've really come down in cost.
And they're really clear. I mean, it puts, in the bathhouse, it will put a small little monitor in there, probably a 19-inch TV or something like that. And if we had 10 different cameras, it would, you could view it there. The good part about it is, what's
The
that?
monitors would be above and beyond the price.
No, I think that's all,
It's all included.
all part of that price. Nothing really sophisticated in the bathhouse, but then if I'm sitting in my office, I could view it, record it, zoom in on it
Bring it right up on
and
your
stuff
phone.
like that. And I think, you know, maybe once the word got out, there's a couple places in town, like the corner store has some pretty slick, some big surveillance cameras that we're able to use for prosecution and stuff like that. And when you actually go back and, you know, they're not foolproof, but when you go back and use them and be able to record them, it looks really nice, so.
You're talking about 1,600?
It's about,
Well, I can give you, all right, I'll do the numbers here real quick. So I came up with nailing it right down to the penny for the base price.
do you
The
want,
DVR
do you want
and a
this?
19-inch monitor with 4 cameras is $590.
This is kind of
Then you, at each upgrade, each camera costs $109. And you just keep going up from there. So with what we would need to patrol the area we would like would be $958. That would be 7 cameras. Now, so keep that, let's call it $1,000, $958. Now, let's go back up to the pavilion. These cameras need 110 power. And there's outlets underneath the pavilion, but that would serve us no good, because any kid in a picnic table is gonna figure out what to do. So we have to have them run outlets inside the attic of the pavilion, so that way all that's sticking down is a camera. That is gonna be a cost there. Scott and I figured we would need 4 outlets inside the attic of the pavilion. Do we say 4 or even 5 possibly?
Yeah, and an electrician might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So that's our first unknown. And then we said $1,000 for the whole setup for the cameras to run this whole show. The next thing, like he said, Wi-Fi has to be on all year. So that would be 6 more months of Wi-Fi. At $120 a month, that's another $720 a year. And again, so we're at, let's see, 720 and 1,000, so we're at $1,700. Let's say another $500. So we're starting approaching some money here that we got to think about. Is it needed in your own minds? Do we need it? Do we not need it? And that's where we're at. Do we want to pursue this or not? If you talk to Sam, sometimes those bathrooms are god-awful. Will we be saving money on man hours? We find out, I don't want to go into what's going on in those bathrooms, but have Sam call you down one day. How much time and energy would save if we could ban these people from the park? And say, you're no longer invited here. It's already happened with one person in the village. Would we, over time, recoup our money on just vandalism and maintaining the bathroom? If Lyle were here, he would tell you the same thing regarding the bathrooms. So, that's where we're at.
The nice thing about this whole project is you could kind of start out and add to it and tweak it. The 6 months that you're paying for Wi-Fi during the winter time, do we really need it? Maybe not, hello. So you can save some money there. In the summertime, we already have the Wi-Fi there, so it's not an added.
Yeah, we could do it in the spring, start in the spring, shut it off for a year and see.
Well, it still records, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, instead of.
You have to go in there.
Yeah, I had to go in there, that's would be the only problem, so, but we wouldn't probably have much of a problem. The fact that we have the Wi-Fi, I can access it anywhere, so, during the wintertime, if the Wi-Fi wasn't working, I'd have to do it down there. I couldn't watch it from my phone or from my office, or neither one, Rachel or those guys either, so.
But if you did have some vandalism in that time frame, you could go down and.
Sure, and I could come back to you and say, hey, those 6 months that we've shut it off in the wintertime, it's not paying off, it's not working out, and we could look at things a little bit differently, so.
Do we typically leave the power on
Yes.
down there all winter?
Yep.
So the cameras would be running 24/7.
Yeah, the power's on, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it'd just be the inconvenience of not being able to pull it off your desk, you just have to go down there, and that'd only be if there was a.
Well, you could physically turn it off, bring it down into your office and look at it, right?
No, I don't believe so unless you.
Well, you say you got a recorder that's recording it.
You'd run the whole recorder down.
Well, you just bring it, yeah, so you don't have to sit down there in the cold and look at it.
Right, yeah. But
So, yeah,
That'd
it'd
be the
still
worst-
be
worst
recorded.
scenario.
Worst case scenario,
You've
And
got,
these are weatherproof, so they go below
Yep.
50 degree, 40, whatever?
And he said they're pretty low maintenance. You run up.
minus
there,
20 was on that spec sheet. I don't know if it's floating around. I think if we have them underneath the eaves of the pavilion where they're out of the snow, so there's not snow
No
collecting
wind,
on
no
them,
water.
The fisheye ones that we'd have on the gable end of the pavilion are a little bit heavier duty because there's a smoked plastic glass over top of them. So, and you can get even hardier ones. There's everything. I mean, you go to their website, if you've got an issue, they've got a solution for it.
You've also got to look at the problem that financially, it might seem like a lot, but I'd rather spend a little extra money and make sure
Well, that was
that whatever happens down there, we're not liable for somebody getting hurt
Well,
or not taking proper care of the grounds.
kid gets hurt on
when
a
we talked
swing
about
set.
this
Yeah.
before, a year or so ago, I called the Village of Bel Air because at that time they had, maybe 2 years ago now, they had cameras at the park and I think at other places in the village. They turned them off, I think because of a liability issue. If they're running that camera all the time and if something bad happens, but if the camera's not on, it does catch it, it doesn't catch it, who's responsible? So I think the only thing I would add to this, I'm all for it, but to clarify who's on the hook if something bad happens and we don't record it, or it is recorded, or,
So that sounds like a question for Brian Graham.
yeah. And I'll ask the village there what specifically it was, but I don't think that they're running their cameras anymore. So, I'll find out.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you have to post that you're being filmed on a camera?
We've already got it down there,
Oh, okay.
but we're not filming right now.
Yeah, no,
Or ever.
okay, I just wanted to.
There's a sign there.
Yeah, I put it up there,
There you go.
trying to stop the
I think it's a
vandalism.
deterrent, yeah,
Yeah, that's the only reason I put it up
gotcha.
there.
Typically, you don't have to,
You don't.
especially in places where there's no expectation of pricing. Which would be out in the open and places that we'd be recording.
Public park, public campgrounds.
All right, so we'll see how much it costs to get those outlets in the attic, just an estimation. Talk to Brian, and then we'll go from there, get some information and bring it back to the board. Is that, everyone feels comfortable with that? All right, move on.
Okay.
Get more? Okay. Also at our meeting, the old white docks from the north end, they're currently sitting down in, what is the swamp area down there, which is where we have all the old dirt and everything else. They're sitting down there doing nothing. This year, we looked at just the number of boats that are pulling up on the south side of the boat launch between the last boat launch, slip, and Stembex. We could repurpose those white docks and put out 2 parallel docks, so that way people don't have to beach their boats and they can tie their boats off at that dock. Just another convenience for the people at the campground.
Rob,
No, south of the dock, south of the boat launch between Stembex.
Rob,
Yes,
have you walked out there?
it's mucky,
You haven't walked out there then.
so,
If you go knee high, it's all slab wood, you can't put them out there.
so. How far out is that slab wood?
Knee high,
Well, that's all you need. How are boats pulling in there now then?
they're pulling their motors up and just coasting in.
Yeah,
But the blades of the dock's gotta be able to sit on something solid.
well,
And with slab wood out there, you can't.
Are they doing that to get out, to go get their trucks to back the trailers in, or are they?
No, he's talking about people that are staying there.
I'm saying on the south side of the
He's
dock.
just trying to find more dock storage
Solve
space.
that problem?
Well, he's saying underneath the water at 3 feet of depth.
But I'm saying, once the permanent docks go in over at the park, then people will have a place to park their boats.
But I'm saying in addition to that,
Right.
Well, we need it though, after you get all those slips.
oh, I think so. Because those, the slips at the north end of the park are not for overnight usage.
People will use them for that.
Well, that's why if we have them at the south end of the park, those docks can be used for people that if they were staying at the campground for overnight. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I know that they're sitting there doing nothing, and my greatest fear is that they're gonna end up gone. And we're gonna have $50,000 worth of docks gone because we're not using them. If we're not gonna use them, let's sell them. That's,
Is that the only place we could use them? Is there anything we could do so we could use them there?
Can't reach in the water and pull the lumber out, so.
so,
Can we put them actually out at each campsite or within shared campsites and put them in the water in front of the campground?
Well, you can do anything if you got enough money. You know, I'll go right back, and
mhm.
how much money do you wanna spend to do something? You can do
Yeah.
anything, anything's
How
feasible.
much can we get if we sell them?
I don't know, I called Donnie Clark and asked him, he texted me, hasn't called me back yet. Summer Solutions, which is Dylan Summer, Nate Robbins Summer's son, he's in the dock business. He's gonna come out and look at the docks, look at the setup. Maybe he'll put on a set of waders and see if he can actually do it, but that's where we're at on that. So, I'll have him, tell him about the situation and see what's going on.
Cool.
All right, it's,
Well, we also have a couple other accesses that if we wanted to just put it out for convenience to anybody.
Yeah.
At the end of Thomas Street.
yep,
And then down off of Lake Street by the old barn there, we've got a strip of 30, 40 feet in there, I think.
yep.
We could put it out.
I just hate to see them sitting there doing nothing.
Me too.
I think it's,
Let's use them.
Use them or something?
yep. Let's see. We talked about replacing the walking bridge at the campground. We're gonna wait till spring on that, till the dust has settled on the budget in the campground, since we've got money still coming and going because of the grant. We talked about the hose spigot at the campground. Again, we're gonna wait until spring because of the water grant, because again, we still have money coming and going. Lyle requested 4 floor fans and they sit on the ground and they're blue and they move the air really well to dry them out. That'd be a cost of $480, so we're gonna find some money for that for next year. We're looking for somebody to put in new cement in the bathrooms, I should say in the showers of the old bathrooms. The old fiberglass shower pans, the gel coat is rubbed off and now it's down to fiberglass. You have a choice, either epoxying it again or chiseling out that pan with the 4-inch side on it and going to concrete so we never have to go through that problem again. So we're still looking into that. Oh, good news. Last year's revenue for September was $17,513. This year's September, being that it was really nice, $21,532. That was an increase of $4,000 over last year. So we had a 23% increase in revenue for the month of September. That's a lot of money. And that's all I have.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah. I want it quiet.
You didn't get to that, you said today.
In my report, Northern Lakes Economic Alliance has hired a Vista worker who will work with us. First day on the job will be November 27th. That person's job will be to help us implement the economic development plan that was established through the Rising Tide efforts. We had a ribbon cutting today down at the park for the park grant, and there'll be an article and a picture in the paper, hopefully by next week for that. I talked to Sam about this. They've already removed one of the floating docks on the north end of the lake. He plans to take the other 2 out as well. It only took, what, 2.5 hours for that one?
About that.
And by getting them out, then we're assured that they're not gonna get destroyed by any ice come spring. So he's not feeling comfortable with leaving them in, that's what it amounts to. So just to let you know that the other 2 will come out, but as long as our weather holds, it's probably gonna be a few days yet anyway, so. And I just wanted to mention that I walked the trail last night, and I thought both, my wife and I both walked it, and we both thought it was an excellent job done. So it's quite an addition to our community. We briefly looked at expanding it for another year if grant monies were available, but I think we would have to purchase some property or get some easements in order to do that if we decide to do that. If it gets a lot of use the way it is right now, maybe we don't need to expand it either, so. And that's all that I have. Need a motion to approve the bills of $267,061.66 prepaids. Payroll is $65,3508, and payables is $8,223.31, for a total of $281,920.05.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Then moved and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Lovelace?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yep.
Salner?
No,
Becker?
Yes. New business, nothing. Action items. Halloween harvest party. The Chamber of Commerce is trying something this year that we haven't done in the past, which is have Halloween celebration on a different day other than the 31st. They're proposing the 28th, which is Saturday before, from 1 to 5 during the day. There'll be a couple of parades that they have going. And we have already applied and been granted to close down the block, the main block in front of Bachman's and the insurance and drugstore, that block there, until the festivities are over. So I guess from my perspective, we have to advertise if we decide that we are going to allow this event, which I think that we should, but we also have to, I think, beef up our advertising for it, because it changes the date from when it's always been done in the past, so. And because it's always been done in the past is enough reason from my perspective to try something new and different, to see if it works. That doesn't mean we won't have trick-or-treaters in town on the 31st, but if people have given on Saturday night, they can just shut their light off and not answer the door on Tuesday night, so. But I guess I'm looking for feedback from anybody who would like to comment, if it's a good idea, a bad idea. If there is enough people downtown, it might warrant some porta-johns, a couple of them, 1 or 2 downtown area there, so people have someplace to use the facilities rather than doing it on the street. That sounds fine. It is Halloween, by the way.
Can I give a little more input on it?
Sure.
Jenny Shooks she's with the Clio, and she's going to have games. She's providing, gifts or prizes for all the games. She's gonna do a scavenger hunt. There'll be, I don't know, probably at least half a dozen or so different games going on throughout the day. They're looking to put tents up down there. I've got somebody donating pumpkins so they can paint pumpkins, and somebody donating a portion of donuts, and we're gonna have cider and such.
I think we should just order porta-johns just in case. I'd rather have them there than not. They're not awfully expensive, are they, for a day, for a couple?
It's, yeah, $75 a piece.
We are very definitely going to have it on Saturday the 28th.
Yep. That's what we're deciding right now.
Okay.
I think it's worth a try. I mean, something,
And with the golf cart parade, Corbett's donating golf carts for everybody to decorate, and then we'll have a parade downtown. They're gonna have a costume parade
Right, well, you still do trunk or treat, right?
I talked to Chris
So we'll
Corbett,
just have 2 things instead of 1.
I talked to Chris Corbett, and he doesn't care if we
Well,
had
and
trunk or
that's
treat on
there
the,
as well.
Right.
on the 28th, so.
Do we need a motion to spend the money on the porta johns, or can we just do it?
I think we need a motion to approve the festival,
Are,
the use of the street, the use
So
of
moved.
porta johns and all, so.
have you, has all the business people been notified of this change?
Yes, they have the exact same letter that your
Pardon?
friends all have.
Yes.
They have the
Yes.
exact same letter
I
that you
went
they
out to
do.
the chamber user.
Okay.
I agree with Larry, we need to make sure we publicize this
Oh,
through
it will be.
all.
Ellsworth and everything else.
And all avenues.
Yeah, I'm gonna, print one off and maybe go down to the print shop and have them print off. I don't know.
Add in the Antrim County Review.
Will be an ad in the Antrim County Review, it'll be all over online. They've got that website where you can post your events and stuff, that michigan.org or something like that.
Need a stack from the grocery store, and they can put them in their bag.
Yeah, and school,
Maybe they-
Friday folders.
yeah.
So yes, I'll definitely make the motion that we approve this event and get the porta potties.
I'll support that.
Then moved and supported, any further discussion? I think if we vote yes, then it's implied that we'll be willing to close the road, so, which we've received MDOT permission already to do that. Still
Yeah,
up
that
to do it,
happened.
so we can handle A and B all at the same time right here,
And, Word Jones too.
so, yep,
Yep. 2 should be plenty, right?
yep.
Would that include also like the flyers and costumes or?
Yep. Anything else? I don't think we need to roll call. We're spending money, but we're not spending money. We're approving the festival that we're supporting, so.
Will it come out of DDA money?
I don't know if they've got any money into this or not.
I've just got a lot of donations.
Oh, to pay for the flyers or
Yeah, and the chamber is pitching
joining
in a lot
too?
too.
Okay, cool.
The only thing that we would really have to pay for is the porta johns. And that would be like $140, $150.
So it's more a chamber event, because they're the ones who really kind of
Right.
head in it. So.
Well, the DEA brought it up and met
It's a
with
joint
Sherry
effort.
and they are doing it together. So it's a collaborative event.
We can roll call the vote regardless, so we'll just do that, and that way there's no questions, so.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yep.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
So did we just do A and B then?
Yep, we just did A and B.
All right.
C and D we'll do together. It's invoices for Brody Frazier, total of $14,469. Jennifer was here for our ribbon cutting today. She said there's one more little bill coming, $2,000, I think, from there.
Yeah, like 3,500 from her.
So that, we're almost done, that's spending money. Hopefully we got about $270,000 that the state owes us. And that should help us bring our coffers back to square one. So we do have a deficit in the park budget, but we passed, last meeting it was, for a deficit removal plan. It's not significant, but we needed to do it, primarily because we spent money last year for that park grant, and we hadn't budgeted for it prior to the year, so we'll have to play a little catch-up there, but again, it's not that significant, so. We got $14,469, and need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I support.
Then moved and supported, any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yep.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes. E is to approve spending of $3,500. We're not gonna spend it in this year's budget, for 2 directional bores for the water lines in the campground. It's just for outside spigots for the campers to use. A couple of spots that they've gotta walk quite a ways at this point to do it. It's an improvement that we can budget for next year. We can go ahead and approve it tonight, or we can hold it off until spring, I guess, but it's on there, so. Whatever you guys prefer to do.
It's better to go ahead and do it, we know we're gonna do it, why not get it out of the way?
All right?
I'll make that motion and we spend the money.
All right.
Where, how, is it gonna be in, for next year's budget, right?
Yes.
Okay,
It'll
that's,
go on
okay.
next year's budget.
So that'll be 2018 budget. So that way all the dust can settle for 2017, get all our money back that we put out for the water grant. All right, sounds good.
Support.
Been moved and supported, Clark and Chapman. We're spending money again, $3,500. Roll call vote.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Lovelace?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yep.
Zelman?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes. F is a sewer study. It's on the agenda. We talked, I brought it up briefly last month. We are gonna have to do something with our sewer system because we're about 10 years late for the life of the sewer system. It's still working, but if we're gonna look to the future, we need to do something different. Either expand the current drain field system, which we're not sure that we can do because DNR, DEQ are not permitting those types of systems anymore. And this study, there are grant monies available. It's a 30% match, and Jennifer said it would probably cost a total of about $30,000. And they would go in and determine what we have, what our options are with what we have, talk with the DNR and what they would allow, and actually come back and tell us the recommendation, whether we want a pond, if we want a wastewater treatment plant, which is the most expensive option. But it will give us the information needed in order to make an intelligent decision. It's gonna be costly regardless of what it is, I'm sure of that. If we did a wastewater treatment plant to do at our current capacity, it's about a $1.4 million project. If we doubled the capacity, not quite, 90,000 gallons a day, I think, and that's a $1.9 million expense. That's for a wastewater treatment plant. So, the study, I think, is necessary. It's something that I believe is a proactive endeavor, because at some point in time, that system is going to fail under its current setup. And that could be 5 years, it could be another 10 years, but we've stretched it to the point now where we don't have a choice to just sit back and wait until something happens. So, it's my recommendation that we pursue the study. Again, it's a 10% match, so it's gonna cost us roughly $10,000. That would come out of the sewer budget, and more than likely, we could probably prolong it to the next year's budget if we have to, so.
If we do this, you're talking a lot of money for a treatment plant, how do we pay for it?
Yeah, that's,
Monthly,
Well, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
But you
Let's-
still
let's-
gotta know how.
We don't even know about that yet. That's why we got the study out there.
We gotta do
Yeah.
the study first.
I don't know, to answer your question, I don't know how we're gonna pay for any of it at this point in
Okay.
time, but we have to
But we
figure
can
out,
pay for the study.
we
gotta
can pay for the study.
We're gonna either pay for the study now at a 30% match, or we're gonna pay for a study 5 years from now when it fails for no match.
Yeah,
It's,
that's true,
And then we have to do it.
then we have to.
yeah.
Do we
And
need a
that-
motion?
To pursue the study, yes, we don't have to approve any monies at this point. The grant doesn't even come out until November, so Jennifer said she would have more information next month. But I left it on the action items, just so when she shows up, we know that we're headed in that direction.
We know we're gonna do something.
Yes. So, we'll probably have to do another motion to approve the grant if that comes to pass and spend the money for that. But our track record with grants and these folks are pretty good.
Very good.
We've
And
been doing real good with it.
I think we have been doing real well, so,
Well, I think I can make that motion,
okay.
that we proceed with the study. Pay off the, what did you say, 10 to whatever it is.
It's been moved and supported, that we do a sewer study.
Mm-hmm.
How we pay for that is up, that's the future, so all I need is a motion to approve.
Is that for the study or?
That's just
That's
for
a
the
study.
study. Sewer
It has to be
study.
done before you do anything.
So everyone, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And that's it on tonight? Unless somebody else has something, any public comment? Carol?
Can I speak? We had, I forgot to tell the board during when I did my report. I got my DEQ, remember how I was telling you about all the lead and copper samples? We've been taking 40 of them a year. I got my new monitoring schedule back, 10 lead and copper samples. They're not due now till 2020. So we tested out of lead and copper. That's what that means. So that's a savings of about $1,200 a year for water samples.
Gotta pay for a mouse.
There you go.
And then it's food.
Feed the mouse.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Then moved and supported to adjourn the meeting, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, sir. Thank you for filling in all this way.
All right, so we'll see you on the 23rd.